Sadak! Hey, John, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, Ice? I'm doing great. Yourself?
Good. So, excuse me, am I right? This is your fourth year with the Reds?
Sixth.
Sixth? Oh, wow. Holy crap. I'm way off. 6th year.
Okay.
Man, I'm getting old. I'm 50 now. I'll be 51 in April, so I'm losing my memory.
Blurs for all of us. That's why I have to have the computer near me to make sure my memory's not failing me too.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, 6 years. I didn't think of that. So you were here when Gino played last time then?
Yeah, Sakala. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking that you weren't here. Okay, all right. So with that being said, I don't know if you probably saw any of the stuff I put out there on Facebook or anything like that. I was still am ecstatic about the signing of Good Vibes Only Gino Suarez. The Reds went out and did what all of us have asked them to do. They went above and beyond their payroll and got one of our favorite players back, Gino Suarez. How excited are you to just be able to see him back in the Reds locker room on the field and get a chance to interview him again?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm delighted the bromance between Jim Day and Eugenio Suarez can continue.
Jim Day.
First thing I thought of, I texted Jim immediately when I saw the news from Jeff Passan on Twitter, and Jim didn't know yet, so I got to break it to him, which
nice.
rarely happens. Usually it's the other way around, so that was pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on, though. The biggest need this Reds team had after last season was power, and ideally right-handed power. And they got one of the best right-handed power bats available. And he's a great dude, and you know that he's going to blend well with this city and with this clubhouse. I mean, it is as big a home run as you can ask for, and they get a mutual option for a second year. And I think it still leaves them wiggle room because now they have so many other positions of potential strength. If everybody pans out in the best case scenario, if everybody's healthy, that ideally during the year, as other needs may crop up, you can trade from other positions of strength.
Yeah, exactly. That's what was the best part is when we first hear that, we get Gino back, like, okay, well, this is going to go above their payroll. Who are they going to have to trade or cut or whatever to try to get this down there? But then Charlie Goldschmidt.
Yeah,
he was the first one that I heard say it, that he found that they're going above and beyond. They're not going to have to cut any payroll, which is awesome. And like you said, it still gives them the flexibility come the trade deadline, if they're in this thing, which we all think they will be now, to go out and add some people at the deadline or before then too. And speaking of that, is like you just said, we've had so many years of, well, we hope this happens. We hope this guy has this kind of year. What the signing of Gino does is we don't have to hope for stuff. We just need guys to play to their potential and obviously stay healthy. And with this pitching staff, and Nick Crow doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, for what he's done to add to this bullpen. The bullpen was good last year, but let's be honest, we got to the end of the year where there was a couple guys there. We thought their arms might fall off. Tito is going to so often. I don't think they're going to have that problem this year because the bullpen is not only good, but it's also deep. And I think Nick did a great job of I don't say fixing, but adding to the bullpen.
I would agree. And I think when I think of Tito Francona as a manager, I mean, first thing I think of is the championships with Boston.
Oh, yeah.
But when I think of him managing, and not to dismiss that getting guys to play hard isn't its own technique, but I think of the greater subtlety in how he used his bullpen in Cleveland. And that was a giant part of what made them as good as they were. And he did lean on guys a lot. And, he's open about that. And Tony and Emilio pitched a lot and then needed some managed time near the end of the year. But, yes, I think there's a tremendous amount more depth. And I think that's going to be one of the interesting maybe even position battles going into spring training, because some of the younger arms, guys like Blake Maxwell and Connor Phillips, can they fight and earn a spot at a spring, or, will they wind up as a AAA, and assuredly they're going to pitch in the big leagues. It's right. Guys get hurt. Like that's just part of the reality. But yeah, I think you can shorten the game. And when you combine that with the rotation that still, in my opinion, has not fully actualized its potential. We have not seen a full year healthy and productive Nick Lodolo. We've not seen a full year healthy and productive Hunter Green. And it's doubtful we will see all of it, but could we see some of it? I think there is another level they can go to as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like Hunter Green seems like a lot of Reds Nation are down on him. I don't know why. I think Hunter Green is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and I know he was injured again last year, and there's some didn't understand what he was. I don't understand what his injury was, but that doesn't matter. The point is, if he can come and pitch to his potential, he's a potential Cy Young candidate. I mean, it seemed with Adams already been an All-Star. Lodolo
Yep.
seemed like he got the blister thing under control until he didn't. And let's not forget Chase Burns. I am very excited to see Chase Burns. I think he is probably going to be your fifth starter, and depending on his innings or how that goes. But then you have Rhett Lauder, who will probably be in AAA. But that's the thing is we have guys in AAA, to what you're just saying there, that if guys get hurt or like Chase Burns, maybe his innings are going up, he needs to skip a start or two. We'll go down and get Rhett Lauder. We'll go down and get these guys and bring them up and not miss a beat. That's the depth of this pitching staff.
Yeah, and there's still some fragility there that most teams deal with. And assuredly stuff's going to happen that we can't predict, right? They're going to face some tight spots at some point, but I totally agree with you. I think the biggest domino is the signing of Gino, because
Yes.
there's good reason to have a lot of faith in the pitching. I agree with you that the bullpen has been augmented very well. I love the Pierce Johnson signing.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of good options and weapons. They have more left-right balance in that pen. The question mark is offense. I mean, the offense scuffled significantly last year. At times, the offense was hard to watch, and power changes a lot. Now, like Gino, like he's not going to hit 300. He's going to strike out. He's going to hit into some double plays. That's what all power hitters do. It's what Pete Alonso does. That's part of the if you traded for a Brent Rooker, who's a guy that I thought would have been a good fit with this group, it's what he does. And his average has come down as well. But it gives so much balance. If you're going to nitpick, the nitpick probably right now is they're a little more right-handed heavy. I think that's a good problem to have, considering the troubles they've had against left-handed pitching in the past. And if you find that is something you need to tweak, well, that's something I think you can more easily tweak near the deadline,
Right.
with the amount of talent that you have.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, Gino doesn't fix, to your point, Gino doesn't fix everything.
No.
He just he makes the lineup make sense. It fits. And the other guys are going to have to produce. I mean, Elly, we need Elly to hit like he can't. And the biggest thing for me is I think it takes some of the pressure off of Elly. I think it takes a lot of pressure off of Sal Stewart, too, to be honest. I think you could start Sal Stewart in the beginning of the season. You can hit him lower in the lineup now. I think if you didn't have Elly, you might be trying to put Sal in, fourth or fifth. Now you can hit him sixth or seventh at the beginning of the season to get him, acclimated. He had to play a month in the major leagues, but it's not a full season. So you don't have to take pressure off him. It takes pressure off of Gino Suarez, or excuse me, Novi Marte. Takes the pressure off these guys because they had the guy who been there, done that, can't hit the home runs. Now, a big key for me is the return of Matt McLain. I call him Matty Bats. But if he can get back to the way he hit before his shoulder injury, with most people who have shoulder injury, it takes about a year to a year and a half, and they're most of the time back to normal. I'm expecting that from Matt. That's going to be a huge thing to get him back and hitting second behind TJ Friedel. What's your thoughts on Matt McLain?
Well, if there's an example, if there's any player that you can look to for the impact of a shoulder injury, how long it takes to rebound, and what's potential after that, it's Gino Suarez.
I said the same thing. Yep.
Suarez had that shoulder injury, and he said he felt fine, and I believe he did. And I think Matt felt fine last year too. But it's just part of the blunt reality. I mean, I'm curious, once Joey Votto starts working as a national broadcaster, if he starts talking about his own career more. I wonder how he feels now about his own shoulder and biceps injury that happened near the end. Because, he confessed himself in that presser before he came back the last time. I don't know if this is the injury or if I'm just old. Right. I'm not sure what it is. And it's, like anything in the world, it's probably a combination of the two. But Cowboy talks about it at length, granted from a different position group. The shoulder is a very complicated, lingering issue. And if McLain can bridge the gap, if he can be in between those two extremes, he already is a way plus defender. He helped the Reds defensively a lot. And that's where the roster tweaks they made last year, Brian Hayes at third, McLain being the everyday second baseman. This is a team that's built on pitching and defense. And that's what a lot of Tito's best teams in Cleveland were like. This is looking more and more like some of those teams with some other wrinkles to it. And he's a huge help in that regard.
And the thing is, too, I think it's people aren't looking at this as much as they should, because everybody sees Brian Hayes like, oh, he's a platinum glove winner, great glove, no bat, which he might actually hit some more this year, depending on how his back is. But I think the bigger key for him is his glove and how that is going to help Elly. And we all want Elly to cut down on the errors and everything. I think having Brian Hayes there next to him for the majority of the season is going to help Elly as far as that goes too, as far as not trying to try too hard, I guess, to go get everything he has to get.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can help cover for a lot of things. I do also, when you bring that up, I think of the time that they kind of went into each other going after a pop fly, because one of Elly's great strengths is his ability to track balls in flight, almost be like an outfielder on the infield. He's made those plays up against the sidewall, the warning track in foul ground. But yeah, it's a huge, huge help. I would also say, just to 2 points that you've brought up already, when I was at Reds Fest, I got to host a Q&A with Matt McLain, and one of the questions that fans had for him was his focus coming into this year. And one of his primary focuses was to try to be more aggressive earlier in the count. And I think that's a pretty strong self-scout, because you watch the Reds games, a lot of the folks watching this right now watch the games. If there was an area of repeat weakness that it felt like he was down 0-1 a lot. And it kind of had him, in a tough spot. So I think, you don't want to telegraph everything and be 100%, but I think selectively being more aggressive earlier can and will help him. I think it puts him in the right frame of mind. And I would also add, you talked about taking the pressure off Elly. One of the other standout things to me from my Reds Fest experience is I did a thing on stage, and Spencer Steer was part of it. And when we asked Spence about his views of Elly and what it's like to play with him, he pivoted quickly, and it's clearly something he had already given thought to. And he wanted to make sure that he underscored to everybody that he's a great player, fantastic teammate, super talented, but how young he is. And and the level of pressure, he is the Reds' best player. I mean, come on. He is. If he plays to his potential, I mean, he's an elite MVP level player.
Exactly.
But he's very young. He has a giant body, which makes historically, look at the great athletes all over. I mean, it's a limited number of guys like Eric Davis and Darryl Strawberry, that Dave Winfield, Aaron Judge right now, that are able to cover that kind of space. There are many more examples of guys who were equally as toolsy, but far more pitchable and didn't have great backs of the baseball cards. But I thought that was interesting that Spence is kind of, one of the younger veterans on a team that doesn't have a lot of veteran, leadership, seemed to kind of take that spot to point out, grow with him a little bit. And I think he's right.
Yeah. And I find that funny, because I'm always posting different clips and stuff like that on Facebook or Twitter. And the comments I get about Elly is, oh, well, he's not that good. They should trade him now. He's not all that. I'm like, you guys realize how old he is? I mean, he's not that old, and his potential is through the roof. I mean, he could literally be the best player in baseball once he actually hits his potential, and he hasn't even scratched the surface of it. That's what I find it hard to believe. Reds fans forget how, because everybody remembers what you've done for me lately, the second half of the season, and let's be honest, Elly was hurt. And I think hindsight, they should have put him on the disabled list and hopefully, healed him up. That would have helped him. But I mean, the first half, he was playing really good. His strikeouts were down. He made the All-Star team. I mean, you got to look at his first half stats to his second half stats. And if you can take his first half stats and duplicate that, that's a pretty darn good year.
I mean, I would just look at the whole year. I mean, he was a 3.5 WAR player. He had 22 homers. He had an OPS of nearly 800. He had a good year. And yes, I do think the leg injury was significant. I think it was far more significant than they had led on during the course of the year. I think we kind of learned that more as the offseason has gone on. And yeah, if there's another lesson that Tito's talked about, and he's he's a human. I mean, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but people have feel moments, and that's what I think most fans want more of, right? They want more managerial feel. And this guy does look at numbers and does consider that, but he goes more on the relationship with the player. Right. It still is very important to Elly to play every game, which we should respect the heck out of. Like he was playing out there with torn stuff in his leg, like
with one leg, basically.
So
that's what he did.
At the same time, I do think that Tito now recognizes that he has to sit him at not 30 times a year. We're talking like once a month.
Yeah.
And then he could still situationally pinch hit or pinch run if you have a chance to win the game. But to get the best version of him and to keep him healthy throughout the year and productive, because he's a power speed guy. So his legs are everything to both of those things.
Exactly. All right, we got a question here from the chat here. Blakey Pie here. He kept quoting the John Sadak-isms that ball had a family. It's a cycle. So all the great stuff we love about you. But he says, John, what's the most exciting? What are you most excited to see this Reds season 2026?
I mean, right now, and I'm probably moved a lot by what's just happened. What the domino with Gino does in the lineup and how many homers he'll hit. A healthy Gino back at GABP.
Can he get 50?
Hit it. Yeah. I mean, that would be pretty cool. If there's one thing I'm most looking forward to this year right now, it's probably that, but it's, it just happened. So if you ask me again another month, we'll see once spring training's kind of going through.
He's probably looking forward to getting the heck out of this snow and going to Arizona for a little while.
I would not turn that down either. I mean, it's snow is fine, but the sub-zero wind chill and the snow that never leaves the sidewalk when I try to walk the pup, that's a little much.
It has been brutal here. All right, so I do want, before you get out of here, I do want to talk and get some information to Reds fans about the Reds TV deal and how people think they just have to pay for it, which you can pay for it, but if you have cable or anything, it'll be still on that provider as well. Is that correct there?
That's how I understand it, and I know that's how all the other markets have worked as well. So in most of those cases, it was even the same channel position. I don't know that in Cincinnati. To be honest, we're still kind of working through everything. I haven't heard much yet that's specific, but that's how it's worked everywhere else. So yes, if you don't have a satellite or cable TV provider, if you weren't watching on the old FanDuel at all, there are no blackouts. You can buy a monthly or season package and stream the Reds wherever, whenever, on any device that you want, including your TV. But if you've historically gotten the channel through your pay TV service, whatever that is, cable, satellite, or even a streamer that had it, to my knowledge, it should still be there for this coming year. So you would not have to spend extra money above and beyond. It instead is just inviting in more people at a fair price rate that weren't able to access it through a pay TV provider in the past.
Now, my question is, do you know if they're planning on broadcasting any more spring training games? So they usually maybe do 2, maybe 3. I would love if they do more spring training games. That's just me because it's baseball, and I'd love to see more baseball. Have you heard anything more about that?
No, actually, as we're talking right now, I just got a text from our producer asking if I had time to chat today, and I assume that'll be part of the conversation. I know that most of the other teams that had already switched to MLB, because a half dozen have been doing it before this big domino fell, most of them were doing slightly more or the same number. In my years doing it, I think each year we've done 3, and then they aired another 3 or 4 from other, when we were FanDuel, other FanDuels. So if the Reds played the Angels, we might take the Angels feed. It would air on Fox Sports Ohio. I don't know yet. So that's still TBD. But I would hope and think that's the case because I think there's a lot of compelling stories.
Yes, especially, I mean, because just to take advantage of this momentum that they built with signing of Gino, and I know the excitement for Reds baseball went from, I won't say 0, but it went from like 10 to like 100 in about 20 minutes when the announcement came out that they signed Gino Suarez, because one, he's an all-time fan favorite, and it got Reds fans, including myself, believing we got a shot at winning this NL Central. We got a shot at making the playoffs again. We actually might have a shot at winning the playoffs this year, winning a playoff series, which would be the first time since 1995, which, like I said, I was old. I was 20 in 1995, the last time we swept the Dodgers. So what's your thoughts on that? Like, as far as the season goes, the Reds competing for the NL Central. Have they done enough to compete there? I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I think Gino is exactly the ad that did that, because if there was a criticism that I heard from Reds fans more often before that, it was that the Reds were basically running it back. And I couldn't steadfastly disagree with that. I mean, they made ads to the bullpen, but the biggest issue they had last year was scoring. And just hoping that everybody gets better, which they could, and that's not, you shouldn't not do that. But yeah, there was a glaring need, particularly for right-handed power, and then they went and did that. I will not doubt the Brewers. I have learned that over time. The Reds have to
they own us.
So I still think, in my opinion, right now, the division is theirs to be lost. The Cubs have had some very nice ads. But yes, I do think the Reds have a realistic shot at that. And to be honest, when I look at last year, it's great they made the playoffs. That's a big step. I viewed last year with kind of a mixed lens, though. I thought the pitching took big steps forward. The offense took steps back. And they made the playoffs. I mean, the Mets totally crumbled. I mean, if the Mets don't spiral in one of the worst ways we have seen in a while, the Reds don't make the playoffs. I mean, they were one win better than they were 2 years earlier when they were eliminated on the next to last day. But yes, right now, I do think it's more realistic to expect a win total in the upper 80s, maybe 90-something if everything broke right. It rarely does, but it could. And I think you're in a far more serious shot at winning the division, because to me, winning the division for a team like the Reds ultimately comes down to winning more of those head-to-head games. They've had a lot of trouble with a lot of teams, including the Pirates, who have not had a terrible offseason. If they could do a better job even holding their own, being closer to 500 in those divisional games, then yes, there is a realistic shot, and I think they have a really good group to try to do that.
And that's the thing is last year they did pretty good against everybody except their division. They had such a hard time. And the Pirates are the ones that drove me freaking nuts. Now, they do have a really good pitcher over there, so I understand when we have a hard time going against him.
They have several really good pitchers.
Yeah.
They're going to get Jared Jones back too. They're a lot like the Reds. They're more like the Reds than I think Reds fans realize or want to admit at times. There's a lot of similarities between the two teams, how they're constructed.
Yeah, and like Milwaukee, they are the St. Louis Cardinals to us now. How we had a hard time beating the Cardinals. Now it's the Brewers. I hate to say they own us, but right now they own us. We have a hard time beating them. And but to your point of getting into the playoffs last year, I look at it. I know we got beat by the Dodgers, but these young guys experienced a pennant chase.
Yeah,
they have experience of in the playoffs now. They know what it's like. So it's not going to be, it's all new. Like, they've already done this already. So to me, that bodes even well for this year. You know what you're getting into. And the pressure, I don't think we'll get to, not that the pressure got to them last year, but if the pressure builds up, they know how to handle it. And they're done that. And that's what veteran teams do. And you want a team to know how, sometimes a team that knows how to handle the pressure the best does the best in playoffs. And with this Reds pitching staff, I keep going back to this because I grew up in the 80s and 90s. We didn't have a lot of pitching. 1990 was my favorite team. We had the bullpen. Our starting pitching was pretty good, but the bullpen was unbelievable. This starting pitching we have right now, it could, they haven't got to this yet, but it could be like what the Atlanta Braves had, or they had solid starting pitching throughout their run. That's what the Reds could have. I'm not saying they have that, but that's the potential we have here with these guys. And I'll still say pitching and defense will beat offense any day. Most of the time, it will. But that's what the Reds had this year, and that's where hopefully that comes to fruition. We get Elly's competing for MVP, South Stewart's competing for Rookie of the Year, and Hunter Green or somebody on his pitching staff is competing for his Cy Young. If that happens, you're gonna have a pretty fun year. The broadcast there, John. It's gonna be fun.
Certainly hope so, and I'm looking forward to some other sneaky competitions in spring training too. Particularly what Edwin Arroyo can do.
Yes,
I think
he'll
almost assuredly go to AAA, but could he be up at some point during the year? He also had a similar but even worse shoulder injury than Matt McLain had days apart in spring training a couple of years ago. And also, I think Edwin Rodriguez what he can do, or excuse me, Hector Rodriguez in the outfield, what he can do, because I think he was fringy. Charlie reported that he was that close to being a September call-up. He was having an electric year. And I spent some time at Reds Fest with Blake Dunn, who had months of production after a swing and a mental change to AAA. And he struck me with a different confidence. It wasn't a hiccup of a couple of weeks. It was a lot of at-bats. Big leagues is different. I totally grant you. But he is a speedy option that can also be in center field, let alone the upside of a guy like a JJ Bleday, who they added, who 2 years ago, he had a 120 OPS plus. Like, he's got power. He's not a high average guy, but he can play multiple outfield spots. He's got legit pop. He can walk. I think there are some other players that are newer to the mix or rebuilt, refreshed in some way that could be part of adding to wins for this Reds team.
And don't people are going to roll their eyes, but don't forget about Rhys Hines. Rhys Hines had a very good AAA year again when he went back down. So he cut down on his strikeouts and stuff like that. So does that translate to the majors? I don't know, but that's another one you keep your eye out there for. All right, I will get you out on this one here. What is your go-to food place, sports bar, whatever out there in Arizona? You got a spot out there you like to hit, John?
I love Grimaldi's Pizza, and I love going with the all white, and their cannoli for dessert is awesome. They have a nice bar scene to be able to watch games, but there's multiple locations, and it depends upon where the Reds are playing their game or where we are in town. But I love Grimaldi's. I think it's fantastic.
That's awesome. Hopefully one of these years I'll make it down the spring training. Ever since they moved to Arizona, it's been a little hard for me to get out there. Florida's a little easier to get to, so hopefully one of these days I'll make it out there. John, anything you want to promote or anything before I let you go?
All good, man. Just stay with us for the 2026 season. Hopefully that spring schedule is coming soon, and look forward to seeing you on TV and out there at the ballpark.
All right. Hey, may the Schwartz be with you.
Likewise. The sequel, 27.
I know. I'm excited. I can't wait. See you, John.
Be well, Ice.
See ya. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Yes, there is a sequel. Spaceballs has a sequel. I am so excited about it.